Travaris Robinson's been around the block for a while. Carolina, Florida, Alabama. He's been with Will Muschamp, South Carolina. He's been in Miami lately. He just came to Georgia from Alabama. And one of the things that he said during his meeting with the media the other day was really that caught me. And I think this is an important thing in talking about the transition to a college football without Nick Saban. And this is important for Georgia. And I'll tell you why right after I read the quote. He said, some of the things that we do here is a little different than what we did at Alabama. Kirby's done a really good job, and Coach Schumann, of changing some of the different things that we did and making it not as complex. And I think our guys are able to play faster because of that. That right there is absolutely the most critical thing in sports, is that everybody knows what they're doing, so they don't have to think about what they're doing, and they just go do what they do. It's kind of tricky with thinking because you do want to think some, but for the most part, when you're playing, you just want to go react. You just want to just go play. You don't want to think, am I supposed to be here? As soon as you're thinking and it's not natural and it doesn't immediately come to you, you're behind. And what is so, and I've heard this from other coaches in the SEC, specifically about what Georgia does with Kirby on defense, and that is that by the time guys are playing, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't have to think, and that's why they're so good. It's the same system over and over again for however many, it's usually a year or 18 months before guys really start playing significant minutes. I mean, think about Keely Ringo, okay? He's over my shoulder right there. That play for Keely, that cemented his legacy at Georgia. If he has a more widely known moment, he could win a Super Bowl as a starting corner and not have a bigger moment than that. And talking about just a singular moment in his career. Keely Ringo was I think game 16 for him. He played a little bit in Georgia's game against Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl the year before. I think he got in on like a play. And I'm going to look that up as we go. But I say all that to say, when Keely Ringo's time, when it was time for him to play, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly where he was going. Same thing for Christopher Smith. When people forget, when Richard LeCount was knocked out against Florida in 2020, Georgia lost a lot of guys in that Florida game, like a lot of guys. And Richard was one of those guys. Christopher Smith jumped right in, and he knew exactly, what to do and where to go. The simplification of what you're doing athletically makes things completely palatable. You can put guys in. You don't have to sort of worry about things because they already know what they're doing. And that quote is important. Some of the things we do here are a little different than what we did at Alabama. This guy just came from playing with coaching with Nick Saban. Okay, I mean, that's I don't think I need to explain it further than that. You know what? Keely did not play in that game, or they didn't notice him in that game. I show him as not playing any games in the 2020 season. So when he took off down the sideline, that was his 15th official game. I feel like he was out there on the last play against Cincinnati. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but my point is all the same. He knew what he was doing. There was no thinking. There was none of that. And that's just so critical. Changing some of the different things we did and making it not as complex. I think our guys are able to play faster because of that. The number one problem, the most difficult thing for people like me that are not fast and never were, Keely played 15 games in 22, is speed. And even if you are fast, if someone's on top of you suddenly, that's a real problem. I was watching United States Olympic men's basketball team in a furious rally over Serbia, a team that just couldn't miss. and has the best player in the world on their team. Those are a deadly combination until you saw the close of the game, which was defensive intensity, speed. It was too much. It was just too much. The tipping of balls and all this stuff on defense. That's how you know if you're hustling on in basketball is how much are you disrupting the other guy. It's not different in football. How much are you bothering the offense? How much we talked the other day about things that you can do defensively that really bother other people. Simplifying things is such a critical part of sports. And I think that's why Alabama had such a good run for such a long time. And the reason why Georgia is right now. Make sure you're signing up for our newsletter. The link to it is right down below. We're in the midst of everything. We're going to have what we're hearing over the weekend. We're going to have insider reports coming up this coming week. Get more eyeballs on the team. You're not going to want to miss out on the stuff that we've got to deliver to you. The newsletter is free. Check it out. The link is down below. For the time being, we have an offer where you can get Dawg posts and all of our premium stuff, which is on the website, for $1 until the Alabama game. So that's a month and a half of Dawg. Well, it's almost 2 months of Dawg posts for $1. And I know y'all are heavy hitters, and you can handle that $1. So go ahead and punch it in. I'm going to put the link to that down below as well. But, the simplification of things, that's why you don't want a true freshman playing quarterback. What Jake Fromm was doing in 2017, it was very different by 2019. He was a different player for Georgia. That's a quarterback. I mean, defensively, guys play early, and with these, there's going to be some young players that play this season at Georgia. And we've talked about them a lot, and I'm going to point, one of them out here, which is I think KJ Bolden. I don't think KJ Bolden is going to start at the beginning of the season. I do not think he'll start. He may start by the end of the season. I'm not sure he's going to get around Dan Jackson. But Dan Jackson and Malachi Starks are not going to play every snap that's critical in Georgia's 2024 season, okay? KJ Bolden's going to have to get out there. Other guys who are younger are going to have to get out there. Ellis Robinson, and so forth. Aguero is not that young anymore. I mean, like, as soon as you've been in the system for a year, you kind of already know what you do. And that's what you hear people in the SEC, when you talk to them, assistant coaches around the league, they're admiring what Kirby does or did, whatever, but they're also annoyed by it. There's no hesitation about what you're going to get from a Georgia defense, because the way they always put it is these guys know exactly what they're supposed to do. There's no drop off. Like, the players aren't as good, but there's no drop off in terms of what guys are supposed to do. They do the right thing, and that's why they have success. That's why this team is having success. Is they are boiling things down to a very simple process. There is no process. You already know it, and you are just running and going. Here's another thing that Coach Robinson had to say. He said, "It's crazy, man. My entire career, whether it's been with Will Muschamp, Nick Saban being in the room, now I'm at a place. This is important too. Now I'm at a place at the University of Georgia. Coach Smart's in the defensive back room. He's a defensive backs guy. Coach Muschamp's in the defensive backs room. Coach Dante's in the defensive backs room. I mean, it's like a American Football Coaches Association. It's called AFCA. An AFCA clinic every single day. But at the end of the day, it's been great. I really enjoy Coach Muschamp being here and helping me kind of get through the process of learning how we do things, talking about at Georgia, because some of the things we do here are different than what we did at Alabama. Kirby's done a really good job, and Coach Schumann's of changing some of the different things that we did, talking about Alabama, and making it not as complex. And I think our guys are able to play faster because of that. Who's had the better defense lately? It's been Georgia, okay? In 21, 22, and 20. Yeah, those are the last 3 seasons, excuse me. 21, 22, 23. I'm just going to look up total defense right now. I mean, that's the you can go probably by either metric, scoring or total. And Georgia, I think, has been the better defense, just period. Total defense last year. Alabama's defense was good last year now. They were 18th total defense. Georgia was 9. That's not like neither of those are bad. So those are both really good. But Georgia's slightly better. Why? Georgia in 9, in 22, a really good defense. A really good defense. They were 9th in total defense. Alabama was 12th. So these are marginal, like not a lot. Georgia 2 in 2021. Alabama was 7. So Georgia has had the better defense these last 3 years. Now, when you start talking about scoring defense, maybe that would be slightly different. I actually don't think it would be. But my global point is that Georgia, I think, is just doing a slightly better job than than Nick did at the end, whatever the end is. From 21 to now. Maybe that's why Georgia won 2 and Alabama didn't win any in the season in 2020. Their offense was so much better than Georgia. That was certainly the reason I thought they won the national championship. They were exceptional on offense. But defensively, what Robinson's talking about here, simplification of what you do matters. And if you're just driving nails into a board, you use a hammer. And most people can do that. Once you get more complicated than that, then you're explaining. People have to learning. You have to think. You don't want to see that on a field when it's go time. You want experience. That's not the same thing as thinking. That's experience. Experience is running out there, hearing the other person, chicken fighting or, taking on blocks, whatever. That's not the same as thinking. Knowing where you're supposed to be, that is a huge thing. And knowing means you're not thinking. And I think this is a critical thing that Travaris Robinson talked about. I think it's something people should focus on. Thanks for watching.